Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show. Real talk, big opinions, and fearless conversations. From the front lines of politics to the latest in pop culture. From breaking sports headlines to the stories that move the world. Nothing's off limits, and nobody's holding back. Arrington Gavin is here to break it down, build it up, and keep it all the way real. So turn it up, lean in, and let's get into it. This is the Arrington Gavin Show.
What is happening, my friends? Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show, your go-to spot for sharp insights, bold opinions, and unfiltered takes on the biggest stories of the day, whether it is politics, sports, pop culture, or the latest buzz. Look, we're diving deep and keeping it real. So do me a favor, kick back, stay informed, and get ready to join the conversation. On today's conversation, I'm honored and thrilled to have on Chesapeake Commonwealth attorney Matt Hamel on to discuss his campaign. He is seeking re-election as a Chesapeake Commonwealth attorney. Chesapeake, as you all know, is my hometown, my home city. I consider myself a true Chesapeakean, so I'm always honored to have on those who serve our city and that serve it with great intentions as well. So I'm honored to have on Commonwealth attorney Matt Hamel. I've had the opportunity to meet him a few times at some of the local events. Awesome dude. And thrilled to have a great conversation with him on the program. And so, yeah, we're gonna have a great time, y'all. As always, thank you so much for taking 1 hour of your time to tune into the Arrington Gavin Show. As you know, we're growing each and every day. We're growing on our social media platforms, which if you haven't done so yet, please do follow us on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Substack, all under the same name, the Arrington Gavin Show. You can also if you would love to contact me or hit me up about a certain topic discussion, look, do me a favor, go to our website, check out our website, www.theagshow, A as in Apple, G as in George, theagshow.com. You can contact us through there, shoot me a message, shoot me a contact. If you just want to say hi, just say hi. But if you would love, if you have a certain conversation topic that you would love to hear shared on this show, do so. I'm always open. I love great conversation, y'all. So please hit me up through there. For those who happen to be watching us right now on YouTube, do me a favor, if you wouldn't mind, like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with family. I truly appreciate it. As I mentioned earlier, we want to keep that momentum going with the viewership numbers as well as subscribers. I see momentum, I see growth with our channel, and we want to keep that momentum going. So again, all you have to do is just like, subscribe, share. It helps with the algorithm, and I will truly appreciate that. In addition to streaming us on YouTube, you can also watch us on Goatverse TV. That's right, Goatverse TV. If you have not downloaded the app yet, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? You have to do so. Look, it's free, y'all. Free 99. I don't know about y'all. I like a good free option nowadays, the way these prices are. So look, you can download the app. It's available on the App Store, Google Play Store, Roku, as well as Amazon Fire TV. And then if you prefer to just listen to this beautiful voice that you happen to be listening to right now, yes, oh, stop it. Okay. You can also check us out wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's iHeart, Odyssey, Apple. We're available on all major podcast platforms. There's a long list. I don't feel like naming them all, but all major podcast platforms you can listen to the Arrington Gavin Show. And in addition to listening to us wherever you get your podcast, you can also listen to us on one of our two radio affiliates. That's right. Shout out to our listeners who happen to be tuning in right now to the Arrington Gavin Show in New Orleans by way of WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about. You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show Monday through Fridays, weeknights at 7 p.m. Central Time, okay? 7 p.m. Central Time, only on WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about. Then we're going to move it on all the way to the Metro Atlanta region to WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk. You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk. So now that I've shared all of that good info, I hope you have jotting down. I hope you're writing that down. As I mentioned before, y'all, we have had the opportunity to have on some amazing guests, and we continue to have amazing guests here on this program. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I'm honored to have on Chesapeake Commonwealth attorney Matt Hamel, who has been a leader, really a public servant in the city of Chesapeake for quite some years, and he's continued to do so in the role as Commonwealth attorney. An interesting thing about Commonwealth attorney Matt Hamel is recently, y'all know we had Chesapeake Sheriff Dave Rosado on, another cool cat, awesome guy, and we had shared, which is a common thing that we're starting to witness in front of our TV screens, or just when we pull and read an article, a lot of folks leaving a political party that they've been a part of for quite some time. And so, like Sheriff Dave Rosado, Commonwealth attorney Matt Hamel also departed the local Chesapeake GOP, the Chesapeake Republican Party. He and many other city officials have left the Chesapeake Republican Party. And the big question is like, why is it a common thing? And this is just not just happening in the city of Chesapeake, y'all. This has happened abroad. How many stories have I shared with you all of former congressmen or congresswomen, or former high state elected officials or high federal elected officials leaving a political party that they said, hey, look, we've been a part of this party for so long, but they're not the same anymore. Look, former lieutenant governor out of Georgia, all right, former congressman out of Florida who's currently running, I think his name is David Jolly. David Jolly's running for governor out there now as a Democrat. Jeff Duncan, I mentioned the former lieutenant governor out of Georgia, is a registered Democrat. The list goes on and on. There's so many other names I want to mention, but we're seeing a pattern here, and I'm curious to have the conversation with attorney Hamel, and just to discuss his campaign. How everything is going. What I guess the big question is also going to be like, is anything changed as far as what some of his big priorities for the city of Chesapeake? We're going to have that conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. But I love to do a fun fact of the day. And now, because we have our special guest, attorney Matt Hamel on, Commonwealth attorney Matt Hamel on, little fun fact about Mr. Hamel. Did you know that back in the day, he was a great piano player? Now, he might say otherwise. He might say, I was all right. But hey, he had the opportunity. He performed in New York City. That's right, y'all. New York City. Carnegie Hall. Now, wait. Not that Carnegie Hall. Before you get you're like, wait a minute, this guy's a real stuff. But it was a theater. It was a program that worked with the local high school kids middle school kids, I think, at the time. And so he had the opportunity to compete. He competed as a piano player, man. And it's so funny because having the conversation with him before the show, he says, wasn't that good. Now I'll have to ask him if he still continues to play the piano. I shared my quick story of, playing an instrument. I wish I stayed with it. So for all you young kids that listen to us, shame on your parents for allowing you to listen to this program. No, I'm joking. But if you listen to us, please listen to your parents that encourage you to pick up an instrument, or to learn an instrument, because it really is an awesome thing to do. I had the opportunity to learn how to play 2 instruments. Was I good? No. Do I wish I would have stayed with it? Absolutely. Why? Because why not? It's a talent that people always slip on and say, it's not that cool. It's not that cool. What is cool? Define cool these days, y'all. Like it's a unique thing to learn. Not everybody in America can say I learned how to play an instrument. So hey, for all you young kids or teens in there, or just folks that are retired, pick up an instrument, learn how to play an instrument. I hope if I have the time of the day, I would love to pick up an instrument. I don't know if it will be the sax or the trumpet. It might be the piano, or it might be the guitar. It might even be the flute. I don't know. You never know. But that is our fun fact of our special guest here. He was a quite good piano player. So my friends, thank you for staying with us. But what we are going to do, we got to pay some bills. So do not go anywhere. You are listening to the Arrington Gavin Show. Do not change that dial. We'll be right back after these commercial breaks.
Every man has a story to tell. Your ambitions, your achievements, your legacy. Your suit should reflect that story, crafted precisely, designed for impact, and tailored exclusively for you. We work with only the finest fabrics, luxurious wools, silk, linen, and blends from world-renowned mills in Italy, the UK, and India. These fabrics are the foundation of custom suits that exude elegance and stand the test of time. But a suit isn't just about fabric, it's about fit and it's about confidence, and it all starts with you. When you work with me, you'll receive a personalized consultation, whether in person or over Zoom. Together we'll explore your vision and discuss your needs, and we're gonna bring your ideas to life. My journey as a designer includes apprenticing under New York-based designer Clavon Leonard, showcasing collections at New York Fashion Week, Algeria Fashion Week, and the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. That experience is what we bring to every suit we create, from weddings to corporate events and everything in between. We specialize in crafting one-of-a-kind suits for life's most significant moments. Dapper Luke has been recognized as one of Baltimore's best menswear in 2023, and I was honored to be one of the 10 designers selected for the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. With over 900 satisfied clients, we proudly serve Virginia Beach and Baltimore, bringing world-class designs to these incredible communities. We don't just make suits, we craft confidence. Your suit will fit your body, your style, and it will tell your story. Book your free online personal consultation today. Visit www.dapperluke.com.
Order your beard care products with Rugged Evolution. We're your local beard care line that supports the maintenance of your full, mature beard. Our line includes conditioning shampoos, moisturizers, balms, oils, shaving lotions, and exfoliating soaps. These products moisturize, hydrate, nourish, and have all the natural ingredients for a healthy beard. Log on to our website or download our app to place your orders. Become a man of distinction with Rugged Evolution Beard Care. And remember,
rugged is the new smooth.
And we still in traffic.
Don't look familiar, do I? Not in this seat.
Hey, what's that you listening to?
Here to host today.
Hey, turn it up. Yeah, this that new Goat Verse app. I got you.
So y'all want to know where the goats are? They're off on the sidelines.
Looking for fresh, relevant content wherever you go?
What was the name of that he said?
Introducing Goatverse TV.
Goatverse, that's what it's called.
The free streaming app that brings you the best podcasts, current events, and thought-provoking opinions all in one place. Download it now from the Apple Store or Play Store. In Goats, we trust.
Hey, what's happening, y'all? Welcome back to the Arrington Gavin Show. I am your friend, your homie, Arrington Gavin, coming to you on this wonderful evening. As I mentioned earlier, y'all, I have a special guest that I'm thrilled to bring on to the show. Without further ado, we are honored to have Chesapeake Commonwealth attorney Matt Hamel. Let me go ahead and bring him on. Matt, how you doing, sir?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come here on the show. I know it is a busy season right now for you, and yeah, so I appreciate you taking the time and coming here on the program. As I mentioned earlier, you are Chesapeake's Commonwealth attorney. You have served this position for some years. You are seeking was this your second term?
Yes.
Second term. And now this was not your first involvement in public office for the city. You were a former city councilman here in the area. But before we get going more of that, attorney or Matt, if you don't mind me calling you by the first name, can you give us a little brief background about yourself to our audience for those who are unfamiliar, who Matt Hamel is?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Arrington, for having me on your show. I'm a big fan, as you know from our conversations offline. Big fan of yours. Big fan of your show.
Appreciate that.
Big fan of what you've done with Rugged Evolution. Came to your event where you gave out backpacks to, I don't know how many, 400 kids or something crazy like that, and doing haircuts for kids and cosmetics for kids and all the things you were doing at Bethany Baptist Church. And I have to tell you that I think that's pretty inspiring. And all the public service I've done, which I've tried to do in my military service, but what you did in that one day that I witnessed is inspiring. And I hope other people that went to that event, maybe some young kids that were there, will follow in your footsteps or see what you did. And I hope you continue to champion that. But that's really, really special. And so I'm honored to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I don't know where you want me to begin. Like you're a talker, a conversationalist, a raconteur, if you will.
There you go.
And I consider myself, I've made a living out of talking as a lawyer, both in the military, private practice, even before then, and now as the Commonwealth's attorney. But I am delighted to be here. But you're right. I did serve on the Chesapeake City Council for a term before I got elected as Commonwealth's attorney. But that is very little about me personally. And I'm sure we're going to get into a whole lot of that stuff. We'll probably talk about what the Commonwealth's attorney's office does and a few other things. But before all of that, before any of that, to really tell your listeners who I am and what I'm about. After I graduated college, I moved to New York City. I had grown up in New Jersey, moved to New York City, and I was a young, 20-something-year-old kid out of college, and I got a job with a German bank. I had lived in Germany for 2 separate years, and so I spoke German, which is why I think they gave me a shot at working at this bank. And somehow, by the grace of God, met an amazing woman who had been from Long Island originally and gone to UVA coincidentally as a nurse. Wow. But when she got to UVA, she was an aerospace engineering major. My wife graduated second in her class of something like 500 kids out of Long Island.
Wow.
Me, not even close to that. So she goes down as an aerospace engineering major to UVA, hated it, but gutted it for 2 years. I think in her third year, she's like, you know what? My roommate likes helping people and is having a great time being a nurse. I think I want to be a nurse. She switched to the nursing program her third year, graduated on time, valedictorian of her nursing class at UVA, and then moved to New York City and worked for NYU Medical Center in an ICU.
Wow.
So me and my other knucklehead friend from Holy Cross moved to New York City, and he said, my brother's a doctor. He's having a birthday party. A bunch of nurses are going to be there. Would you like to come? I'm like, hell yeah, I would love to come. So we meet through this mutual friend at a birthday party at a bar in Manhattan. We start dating, and somehow I convinced her to date me, marry me, and we just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary this year.
Congrats.
We went to Italy. We have 4 kids. And so all of the things that we're going to talk about tonight and the public service, which is very important and has been a lot of my life's work, public service and military service, pale in comparison for me personally. The signature of my life is being married to her, the 4 children that we have raised together. One's already through college, 2 are in college right now, and one's a junior in high school. And my biggest goal in life right now is to get all 4 kids through a 4-year degree with no debt. And I told them all, like, look, I don't care what you do. If you want to become a welder, if you want to become a shoe salesman, I don't care, a garbage man, a nurse, a lawyer, whatever you want to do, I really don't care what it is you do as long as you believe in what you're doing. But I want you to have education first, and I want you to be able to rely on yourself. And so we have 2 girls, 2 boys. My oldest daughter is an amazing individual through college. So all of that said is the background, but what led me to Hampton Roads is what I think you probably want me to talk about. And so while I was working for this bank in New York City, my bank was attached to the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Oh, and I used to get to work early in the morning because I was going to law school at night. I was already married. My wife was helping me get through law school. And I got to work on the morning of September 11th. My building was attached to the North Tower of the World Trade Center. I had my head down in my cubicle reading my books, and I felt the first plane hit, and I shook my building. And I went to the window, and I started watching flames shooting out of the window. And over a period of several minutes, I began to see, and honestly, it could have been a little bit more than that, but not many. People started jumping out the window, and I was close enough to watch these people have their eyes closed, holding hands, women jumping out of the window, holding their dresses down so they would die in dignity and their dresses wouldn't blow up over their head, I presume. And it was a day that changed my life dramatically. And my wife had been called in because they had the chief medical examiner there at NYU Medical Center. And I hiked down 34 flights of stairs, got out right before the towers fell near where I was. And And I started having a series of conversations with my wife. And I said, I was making a lot of money at the bank. They paid for me to go to law school. I was going to roll into their legal department. And I said, this isn't what I want to do for the next 40 years of my life. Like, I would like to serve in the military. I would like to serve something bigger than myself. And she allowed me to do that. And she said, all right, well, how long is the commitment? And I said, well, to be a Navy JAG is 4 years. She said, I'll tell you what, I'll let you do that. But then when I say pull the plug, we moved right back here. Her family was from Long Island. She's like, I want to be back by them. And I said, okay, that's a very fair deal. But we got down here, we got stationed here. I got orders as a prosecutor at the Norfolk Naval Station. And then about a year and a half in, I said, hey, because of that 9/11 story, I really want to go do some detainee ops in Iraq. Would you let me do that? She's like, man, you just brought me down to a place I don't know.
Right? You told you to keep on coming.
So she let me do that. I came back and by the time I got back from Iraq, she said, listen, buddy, you're up for orders. If you want to live with me and your kids, you're going to stay right here in Chesapeake because this community has embraced me. She would go to the Y, go to get a shower, put the kids in child. At the time, we had 3 kids under the age of 5, and she put them in child watch. And this community of Chesapeake just embraced us. And she was the one. The Navy ordered us here, but then she ordered us to stay in Chesapeake. And she said, go to the reserves. And I did. And I had a private practice for 10 years, and I ran for city council. And then I'm sure we'll talk about all that public service. But that's the background on how we got here, Gavin.
Wow. No, you're fine. Yeah, I always get I always tell folks it's okay. All my life they've always called me by my last name. It's all good. It's all good. But that is well, for one, thank you for your service. 2, I could imagine. Well, I can't imagine. First of all, I can't imagine being in that state during that time in our history. Just that I already know could have been extremely traumatizing to witness. But coming forward to Chesapeake, which I remember you telling me a story because you just said you just celebrate you said 25 years.
Yep.
So 25 years, you traveled, had a great time in Italy, but I believe there was a story when you shared that, hey, look, there was a few things that I promised my wife. That was a beach house and this and that. Hearing you share this, and I hate to bring it up. I hate to try and I keep on bringing it up, but hearing you say, hey, look, 4 years here, well, this and that there. I'm like, now I see why you had to pull the punt. You had to bring the big guns and make those promises. But I know, hey, look, 25 years. Obviously, you're doing good. You're doing good. You're staying strong.
I've heard you talk about. I've watched your show before, and you talk about having a smoking hot wife and how you got in-laws that you love. And I think I listened to your show, and I'm like, you know what? I'm the same way. I mean, I have married a woman that I should have never been able to marry. She's got parents that are great, and somehow, by the grace of God, here I am. And yeah, you're right. When we were getting ready to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary, she said, buddy, you talked a big game when we were dating about beach houses and European travel. I haven't seen a whole lot of that. I'm like, all right, we're going to Italy. And we
Hey, stuff takes time, man. Stuff takes time. But no, I mean, that is awesome. So what I want to ask Matt, what led you to pursuing a run for public service on a local level, public office on a local level? Where did that idea come about for you? When did that start?
So, I went to the reserves in 2011. We still live in the same house in Greenbrier that we bought when I was on active duty. We've always lived very modestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into private practice, and we were just working. We're putting kids through school, doing our thing. And at some point, about 6 or 7 years in, and I'd volunteered for a couple of different organizations like the Mayor's Commission on Veterans Affairs, doing some volunteer stuff throughout the city with the Ruritan Club and some other things, and got to know a lot of people. And this is now going back about 8-9 years ago. At the time, there was a lot of turnover. There was a bunch of people retiring from city council there were a bunch of vacant seats.
Got you.
And I looked at the council, and there really weren't a lot of people under the age of 65, 70 years old on the council.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, I've got kids. At the time, I had several kids in the public school. I had one daughter who was about to go into Grassfield High School. The rest of them were in Catholic school at the time. I have since had all of my kids go through Grassfield High School. I still have one there now. But I was like, there's nobody with kids. There's nobody my age doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a private practice that was doing pretty well. And I thought to myself, I'd like to, the city's a wonderful city.
Mm-hmm.
Most people move here. They certainly don't move here for the nightlife. I'll tell you that much. But they moved to Chesapeake because
I wish we did have a night like that. That's something I always push for council, but that's a whole nother story.
Well, we're not we anymore, but the city's trying. Summit Point in Greenbrier has got some up and coming things, some great restaurants on that Battlefield Boulevard corridor going all the way down through to Great Britain. I mean, we're trying, but that's not why people live here. People live in Chesapeake because they want safe streets and good schools. I mean, I'm convinced that's why I live here. My kids had a great education, set them up for a great foundation to do whatever they want, and it's safe. They can play outside. And that's sort of how I run my office as the Commonwealth attorney, with that in mind every single day when we're doing things. But I ran back then, to answer your question, because I wanted to be the voice for people our age and people that, had kids in the school. And I thought that I had the ability to do that and confidence in myself to do it. And I wanted to serve. And so, and I lost a lot of money because I could have been billing in private practice during that time. But I had some of the best, probably from 2018 to 2020 was and now listen, I've loved I'm in the military now, still in the reserves, 21 years, served on city council 4, and I've been Commonwealth attorney almost 4. So if you combine that, 28, 29 years of service, probably my favorite time in public service was 2018 to 2020 on that council. It was just a great time.
Wow, that is really awesome. And I love what you said, just pushing for that representation. I think that's what a lot of folks, a lot of voters advocate for, as of 2025 is the right, having the right representation, whether it's on your local level, whether if it's on a state level and on a federal level, is something that they really push for that representation. I want to ask, your experiences on council, did that help influence you to pursue Commonwealth attorney?
I would say yes, but that wasn't when I ran. That wasn't the goal at the time. There was some serendipitous things that happened. For one, the previous Commonwealth attorney was retiring, so there was a vacant seat, and there were several people, because I'd already been involved in local politics. People knew my name, and there were several very influential people in the community who encouraged me and said, look, we think you could do a good job. Would you consider doing this? But that was more serendipitous than it was a design by me, I have to say.
Gotcha. If you don't mind explaining, now I've had the opportunity to have on, you're just the second Commonwealth attorney I've had on. Shout out to Norfolk Commonwealth attorney, Ramin Fadahi. He was on. And I want to ask the question, because a lot of folks will still be curious to ask, what is the difference, or is there a difference between, say, a district attorney compared to a Commonwealth attorney?
Not dramatic difference at all. It just depends mostly on the state and how the Commonwealth or the district attorney is either appointed or elected. In Virginia, Commonwealth attorneys are elected. There's 120 of us around the state of Virginia, around the Commonwealth. And we are tasked statutorily to prosecute all felonies that occur within our jurisdiction, and then certain misdemeanors. And then we have a little bit of discretion with a lot of other things. But suffice it to say, there's not a dramatic difference. Some states, the district attorneys are appointed. Sometimes they're appointed by the governor or other mechanisms. Some places they are elected as well. But Virginia, we are constitutional officers. By the Constitution of Virginia, we're elected to 4-year terms. And I think there's a certain beauty to that, because and we're going to find out in November, if the citizens of Chesapeake don't like the way that I and the approximately 30 prosecutors that work for me The way that we've prosecuted cases for the last 4 years, they'll vote for somebody different. And that's the beauty of our system.
And that was another thing that walks me through. I would love if you don't mind bringing up, some of the responsibilities of that role as a Commonwealth attorney. I know I asked that question because when I'm walking in just local communities, local areas, and in certain circles, they're always curious of, because a lot of folks really, and this is the importance why I always love to encourage having an understanding of what goes on in your local communities, what happens in your backyard. Because a lot of folks, I won't say a lot, I need to stop using that term a lot, but some folks are still unaware of, hey, we do have city government. We have a city website. Do you know the positions of of who's in this position and whatnot? How important is the Commonwealth attorney? And then what are some of the responsibilities that the Commonwealth attorney has on his desk?
Sure. Actually, you touched on a lot of different points right there. And I'll be glad to talk about what we do in the role of the office. But that is why what you just said it's so important to have shows like yours, especially in this day and age when the news media is being attacked or polarized, or you have public funding being removed, or you have lawsuits against these big outfits. People don't know what their local offices or their local office holders do. And they don't know how important it is to their day-to-day life, how their city council is setting policy, how their local school boards are setting policy, how budgets are set in their cities, how their taxes and their fees are set. And they don't know what a lot of their constitutional officers do. And that's why a show like yours is so important, I think. But the Commonwealth's attorney in Chesapeake and in other jurisdictions, we're your prosecutors. We do a fair amount of civil work that people don't know about. Like we review, concealed carry permits. We talk if people want their voting rights back or their driver's license restored or things like that. We can get involved in those. If some vehicles are driving that are overweight, like trucks on highways, we can litigate those on behalf of the city. There are certain statutory mandates. But what most people are familiar with is prosecuting both violent crime, drug offenses, sexual assaults, rapes, things of that nature, all sorts of felonies, and certain misdemeanors. Like we, along with many jurisdictions in the area, put a prosecutor on every DUI, even though we're not mandated to do that by statute. And so that's what the office does. And the office size is set a little bit by the population of the state. And so we are the second largest city in Virginia with approximately 255,000 residents. And so we get some money from the state, we get some money from our city, and we have approximately 30 prosecutors on staff, like I said before. And my job is more bureaucratic in nature, in the sense that we've got to run an efficient office with another 25 support staff of paralegals, legal secretaries, support staff, docket clerks, and the like. And we need to make sure that these cases, which are many, are tried with excellence, with integrity, and the way that I believe the citizens elected me to litigate them.
And man, I want to ask, when you were first running for Commonwealth attorney for the city of Chesapeake, what were some of your goals and what were some of your goals that you were running on? And by any chance, what are some of those any accomplishments that happened during your first term as a Commonwealth attorney?
Now, that's a really great question. When I ran for this job, if people can kind of rewind 4 years ago, and people kind of forget this now that we're in the middle of a campaign with a bunch of sound bites, and I have an opponent saying all sorts of things that are just wildly untrue. 4 years ago, I just want to reorient us all to the fact that we were coming out of a time. There was, the George Floyd incident. There were lots of civil unrest because of that. There were marches in Chesapeake. There was COVID. The courts were shut down for 2.5 years. There were 7,000 backlog felonies that I inherited because of that shutdown for 2.5 years. And so running for the office for a vacant seat back then, it's kind of hard to rewind and say, I had all these crazy ideas to do wonderful things for the city of Chesapeake. It was really to get through that. And when I was on council at the time, there was this march down Cedar Road. And I remember walking in that march, and there were some of my political friends, and why are you doing that? Why would you get involved in that? And I'm like, look, regardless of how you feel about what's going on, there is a significant portion of our population right now that is hurting. They are the citizens. The house is burning down, and we need to, when you get elected, whether it was on city council or as a Commonwealth's attorney, you're not just the Commonwealth's attorney or the city councilman for the people that elected you. You're now for everybody. And so you have to recognize, I believe, that there was this pain. And that's why I did what I did. But when I got elected as Commonwealth's attorney, I'll be honest with you, the first year and a half, 2 years was getting through the backlog of cases that we inherited because of no fault of anybody, but because the courts were closed. And that was a very challenging time, building a team of exceptional prosecutors, doing the things that we were doing with a great staff. But then the things that I accomplished that I am very proud about are really, I guess if I had to distill them down into two things, it would be this. One is I have championed the diversionary programs for people nonviolent offenders who were arrested, charged for drug offenses, or because they have mental illness. And we now have in the city of Chesapeake the second largest combined drug court, which is now called recovery court, and the behavioral health docket in the entire state of Virginia. That was something, regardless of political party, I championed, because I feel like, look, there are certain people that deserve second chances. They deserve to be diverted out of the criminal justice system, and they're nonviolent offenders. That is not to say that we don't prosecute violent crime hard with, murderers, sex offenders, and people can look on our Facebook page and check out some of the press releases and the sentences we've gotten in those. And that's what I believe the citizens of Chesapeake want. It's dictated by what the victims demand, and we do that. But we balance that. So that's one thing that we accomplished that I think has been pretty remarkable. The second thing that I created was an elder abuse task force. This was a multidisciplinary team, folks from many different agencies, from Health and Human Services to CIBH, the Integrated Behavioral Health folks, 911 operators, EMS folks, fire, police, sheriff, U.S. Attorney's Office, FBI, our local law enforcement, my office, and we come together regularly to discuss scams or some of those cases that don't fit neatly into any one of our disciplines, where the easy elder abuse cases we prosecute, or the easy elder abuse cases get dealt with in one of the other agencies, but we bring these things together, and it's not just a network of communication, but it's to solve problems. So those are a couple things that I'm pretty proud of and accomplished. I did have that in mind when I ran, but some of the other things, we were just getting through a pretty challenging time.
Well, that elder abuse program that you had just mentioned, that's, people really don't understand. That's a big deal in the city of Chesapeake, because at least for me, I'm not too sharp with stats, but we do have a lot of senior citizens retired that live in the city of Chesapeake. We have a lot of assisting living homes. When you go further back in, more of the country parts of Chesapeake, those are folks that have been in Chesapeake for years. And they, so I think that's a really big deal and an important thing, because scams are continuing to get more and more clever every day. I can't tell you how many times I receive some, scam calls just in a day. And that's for all people. So I can definitely vouch that is a big deal right there. Matt, you made some headlines recently in November of 2024 by leaving the Chesapeake Republican Party, and you have since then joined the Democratic Party of the city of Chesapeake. Now, I'm curious, ultimately, what led to that decision, leaving the local GOP in Chesapeake?
So when I left the Republican Party last year, the idea, well, it really was a decision that I had made long before that. It was about over a year prior. And the idea at the time was I was actually done with politics. I really had made the decision to be done with all of this. And the reason why it had to do with a lot of the pay-to-play, corrupt things that were going on in the city of Chesapeake. The local Republican Party had sought to control what this organization that they had. Many really good public servants had been hurt in the process. I could give you a litany of names from Steve Best to Susan Vitale to Don Kerry to Robert Ike, Sam Boone to Tom Mercer. The list goes on and on and on.
Wow.
And these are all people who had been long-standing public servants in the city of Chesapeake who had essentially stood up and said, look, we don't like the way the endorsement process is going. We don't like the way that, if you challenge what you're told to do or how to vote or what is happening with development or who's endorsed, you're gone. And there were several of us who had stood up to that, and it had even gone up to some higher levels, to the Attorney General's office and other places, to say, look, this needs to stop. This is not what public service is about. And the response was resoundingly silent. And there were many who walked away. There was Steve Best, who got out of this realm, some that tried to run as independents, whether it was Susan Vitale, Robert Ike. And then there were others that had tried to switch parties. And then there were and actually Sam Boone and Tom Mercer also tried to run as independents. And it is futile. And you've talked about this on some of your other shows, and I've listened to you talk about how you're not a big fan of the two-party system
at all.
but unfortunately, that's the matrix within the construct that we operate. And if you are not on a sample ballot in the city of Chesapeake or in other places, and you can't pick up the base of 30 to 40,000 people in an election cycle, you don't have a chance to win.
Yeah.
So when I resigned, I was like, look, and my wife said, why don't you go back to private? You were making more money, man. And we're about to have 3 kids in college at the same time. Like, what are you doing? And plus she was like, I really want to go on more of these European travel. And
I know that's right. I
think that was her, or maybe a beach. I don't know, whatever was in her mind, which was probably accurate at the time. And so through a series of meetings and conversations with some folks, some very, very senior folks within the Democratic Party, they said, look, I can't believe they were saying these things. They're like, you're a good guy. Like you operate with integrity. You have a great office. We understand the constituency in Chesapeake. We want you to consider running on our ticket. And I said, well, look, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say things I don't believe in. So, and believe it or not, I had meetings with Senator Lucas, with Speaker Don Scott, with Delegate Cliff Hayes, people that I respect tremendously, who have done a wonderful job, by the way, of selecting judges in the city. If you look at our judiciary in Chesapeake, it's one of the most diverse in the state. And these people are amazing people. I mean, amazing judges. And it's a wonderful judiciary. I respect the hell out of these elected officials. And they said, we will support you if you would consider doing it. And so that was sort of the genesis of that. But philosophically, and I think this is something that you and I, we probably enjoy talking about this over, a bourbon or a beer sometime. But
just say the word, just say the place, time and the place, my man.
But I mean, I think I call it like the 80-20 thing. I think 80% of the population actually agrees on most things. I think, like I said, most people, more than 80% of people in Chesapeake want safe streets and good schools. That's what they want.
Yep.
If somebody hurt your family member, I know you don't quite have kids yet, but if you had a daughter or a son who was hurt or sexually abused, you'd want my office to prosecute that case hard, to get that person off the streets. They couldn't do it to somebody else, or for whatever sentencing philosophy you have, you'd want us to do that. But if you saw somebody who was doing something who shouldn't be doing something because they're messed up with drug addiction and there was nobody really hurt or mental health, you'd want us to try to get that person services. I mean, you go back to the foundations of what we all believe in, and I really do believe that there's more things that we agree upon. Even some libertarians when it comes to property rights. I mean, I'm a big property right guy. I believe that when I was a Republican. I believe in it now as a Democrat. I believe in prosecuting cases the way that we do and the diversionary programs we do. These are not political party issues. These are human issues. And so for my office and what I want to accomplish there and what I want to do for the citizens of Chesapeake is what I want for my family, and that's as simple as I could answer it.
No, I mean, and I totally, one thing I want to give you your respect on that, because it's not easy publicly leaving a party. Like, folks think that's just it might come to an easy decision as far as just what you have personally witnessed in being a part of the party, but coming out publicly, that can be difficult. Because I want to ask, like, how has some of your Republican friends and colleagues, how is the feedback? I've heard you say, you received the support from, Delegate Cliff Hayes, Senator Louise Lucas, House Speaker Don Scott, but like, how has the feedback, how has that feedback come now, as, how can I put it, now as a Democrat? Have you received, positive feedback from most Democrats, and how has the feedback been from, former Republican colleagues?
Well, all right, let's switch now. You want to talk about some raw politics now. We talked about all the good stuff we're trying to accomplish,
right.
all the things that we're trying to do on the day-to-day. So, and I believe in that stuff. Like that is not just pie in the sky BS. Like, that is what we try to do every day. And I want to make sure, and this is why I tell the people that work for me, stay the hell out of this political stuff. You guys are line prosecutors. Do your job. You don't work on my campaign. Now, my chief deputy, it may be a little bit different. Every other one of the other 28 or 29 prosecutors in the sports staff, I don't want any of them getting into this stuff, because it is ugly business. It's nasty. And what people will say and what they will do it's disgusting. But you can't get into this arena. You can't do this unless you are prepared to fight. It's like my dad used to tell me as a kid. He's like, look, if you want to play in the game and you want to put the pads on, get in the game. You're not saying, like, you gotta do it, man, if you're going to do
Absolutely.
it. And what I have seen and what I have witnessed in the local Republican Party has turned off thousands of people. It's why the party is imploding on itself. And there are some diehards who hate me now on social media, and they'll write some stuff. But you look at the people I served with before. You look at the people who've donated to my campaign. You look at the people who want integrity in the office. You look at the people who are doing meet and greets from you throughout the city of Chesapeake. The support is there, and that's what freaks out the local Republican Party. So to answer your question, how am I receiving on the Democratic side? I think there is large support, hopefully significant support, but I also need to explain to them, like, this wasn't just a shift to be an opportunist to win re-election. Like, there are things that I believe in that are similar to what I think many on the Democratic side believe. For example, I don't think most people, Republicans or Democrats, want me to be prosecuting abortion cases. I mean, I don't think that goes back to that 80-20. I don't think most people want me prosecuting doctors who perform abortions or women who want abortions. I have my own feelings on that. I have my own religious beliefs on it. I don't want to be prosecuting those cases. Same thing, things that are going on nationally, how we treat our allies. There's a host of things, how the press has been treated, the attacks on educational institutions. I've got my positions on all those things in my heart. Why I serve in the military, how we brought constitutional principles to Iraqis who were picked up when we were searching for certain people, and there were a lot of innocent people, and I was running parole boards in Iraq to get people back to their families that shouldn't have been there. I mean, these are principles that didn't stop in America. They're principles that I brought with me that I took an oath to uphold. The same thing here in Chesapeake. 99.9% of what we do on a day-to-day basis in the actual office is apolitical. It's about what I think the citizens of Chesapeake elected me to do. You live in Chesapeake. I know you told me a million times, you got a fur baby, you got a wonderful wife, you're married up. You want a safe place where you live. And how we prosecute cases that occur around where you live is important to you. And having an ethical Commonwealth attorney, I think, would be important to you and everybody. So I think the reception is largely warm. Are there going to be people that 20, like the 80-20 thing I was talking about, that are so diehard in a political party? Sure, that's going to happen. But I think we are scaring the pants off of the local Republican Party, because the Chesapeake of 2025 is not the Chesapeake that when I ran in 2018 for the very first time. The city is a lot more purple than it's ever been. And I think it's scaring the pants off them. And if you look at the last election cycle, when Pat King and Les Smith flipped 2 seats Democrat on the city council, and Malia Huddle picked up a seat on the school board, there was a swing of 3 out of 4 seats right there that went Democrat, and it's scaring them. And so, I mean, that's the reality politically of what we're talking about, completely separate from the day-to-day operation of the office.
Oh no, I hear you, because I had the opportunity to have Chesapeake Sheriff Dave Rosado. Dave Rosado spoke his piece on on the system, the local GOP. You mentioned a few names, former Councilman Don Carey, Sam Boo. I mean, another former council member, Robert Ike. I mean, there's a long list of folks that are just saying, look, it's insane. I'm just like, but again, it's happening on a large level. But just speaking primarily for Chesapeake, I mean, it's a lot have been said about you. If you don't mind me sharing, your opponent said, let me see if I can pull it up right here. Dedicated to performing the responsibilities of the office, not merely maintaining their position. That is from your opponent saying how he would serve the city, which by I want to mention, he is a assistant attorney general for the state of Virginia. And when you hear critics like that say that, hey, you don't care about the office, you're doing this mainly for the political position. I mean, what do you have to say about that? Or how can you respond to that?
Well, I mean, look, this running for office is not a fun thing to do anymore. And I will tell you, when I ran in 2018 and again in 2021, it was largely positive. Like, these are the things I want to accomplish. I want to serve. I want to be a part of the discussion how the city's going to grow. When I was on city council, when I got this job, it was like, look, we have a challenging environment. We have an incumbent retiring. We need good, ethical people doing this. And these are the things I'm going to bring to the table. My opponent in this race wants to tear me down. He keeps talking about experience. I mean, look, I'm the only one in this race who has prosecuted cases in the federal system, in the military system, and in the state system. He can say whatever he wants about the kinds of cases I've tried in the state system. I've tried them all in a system which he's never practiced in. I've also built a private practice up from nothing. I mean, literally nothing. Employed 5 people, other attorneys, support staff. I mean, I've created a business that was a very good, successful business. I brought the leadership techniques, skills that I learned both in the military, leading people in Iraq, being in the reserves. I was the 3rd in command of a 90-person unit. And now I run an office of 55 people for the last 4 years. I mean, these aren't things that these are not sound bites. These are accomplishments over a nearly 30-year career since the time I graduated college till now. And he hasn't done any of that. And so he can talk about all the sound bites he wants and what I'm out for, but it's kind of like this. If I'm not successful, I've set myself up to go back into private practice or do something else. It's not like this is the signature of my life that I have to win at all costs. And he has done some things during this race that are really untoward. He's attacked people in my office and said that we lost a case, he said, because somebody didn't turn over evidence in a case, which was proven and reported in the press not to be true. And what he wants to do is malign people, me and people on my staff. And it's okay to come after me, but if you're going to lie and come after people on my staff, we're going to have an issue. And I'm going to call that out every single time. And I don't know if this is answering your question specifically, but I'm prepared to go toe to toe with these things. And by the time your show airs, another thing, this is where we're going to break a little bit of news here, because I know you're not running this thing for a couple of days. My opponent in this race actually went up to a victim's home during the middle of her case, filled her mind with misinformation, did a video about her case, got her to comment on the case, and actually infected the case to the point where we now have to get a special prosecutor on the case. And he is so intent on winning this race at all costs that he would actually go and cold call a victim's home, and try to influence her for political gain. And these are things I just would never do. I didn't do it in 2021 when I wanted to run, and I'm not doing it now. But you asked me a question about my opponent and what he's saying and what he's doing. I'm in the arena, man. And if you want to get in the arena and you want to go toe to toe, let's do it. But we're both not going to be standing at the end of it.
Look, I have about 4 minutes. I want to share a couple of quick questions with you in regards to some justice and community issues. Now, as Commonwealth attorney, what do you see as the most pressing criminal justice issue facing Chesapeake right now?
I mean, the most pressing criminal justice issue. I mean, I'll tell you what the most pressing issue is in running an office of my size, that it has to do with resources to do what we are doing. Look, we don't make the laws as the Commonwealth's attorney. We enforce the laws. And so things have changed in the criminal justice system over the last several years. I'll give you a couple of examples. There's now the General Assembly has done away with jury sentencing. So what that has done is allowed and encouraged most people to request a jury trial, and then they know that they're going to be sentenced by the judge. It has taxed our system a bit and made it a little more difficult for our office to operate, and many others. Do I think that's a good or a bad thing? I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, and I'm not saying it should be part of criminal justice reform. It's just the reality of what we're dealing with, and we need more resources to deal with it. And not just my office, public defender's office, the criminal justice system in general. We only have 6 circuit court judges. We have 6 courtrooms operating at a time. There's some days we have 6 jury trials set. You can't run the rest of the dockets that way. So the biggest challenge for us is having the adequate resources, recruiting, attracting, and retaining the best attorneys, paying them what they deserve to be public servants, and our support staff. Huge resource issue. Having better technology to be more efficient to do the things that we do. Huge resource issue. Look, there have been changes that the General Assembly has set to make a presumption for bail in every case. We operate within that construct. We operate in a system where we'll also prosecute probation violations. The office is not a political one. We will do what we are tasked to do, which I believe is what the citizens of Chesapeake want. But I'm not a crusadist here saying we've got to have all of this reform to make things happen. I think we have ethical prosecutors who do the right thing in cases. I think we look at cases on a case-by-case basis. We're a very victim-centric, victim-focused office. And that I think the proof is in the pudding, where over 7,000 backlog felonies and approximately 3,000 felonies that we indict every year. You don't see victims going into the press saying we're not doing our job. And that's a barometer for me to some degree of how we're doing.
Well, Matt, while you were sharing, while you were talking, for those who are watching us, I put up your website so that people can know more about you if they would like to contribute to, contribute to your campaign, or just know, again, more about Matt Hamel. Matt, I truly appreciate you taking the time out your busy schedule for coming here on the show. If you don't mind, I would love to chop it up with you just for about 60 seconds at post show. But again, I have your site right there. And is this the only way folks can get in contact with you, or is there any other option if people can follow up with you by any that's in the local area?
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to just say thank you to you again. I know you've given me a platform to talk about a lot of things today, and I've taken that opportunity to talk a lot. So I want to say thank you to you. You do a wonderful thing for our community, and you really have a great show. But we're also on Facebook. We have a very big presence. There's a Matt Hamel 4CA Facebook page. We also have an official page through the office. I've got a personal page on Facebook. We put things on LinkedIn. You can also find us there. But those are probably the 2 main places you can find us right now.
Well, Matt, again, don't go anywhere. I'll chat with you just for a little bit after the show. But again, I thank you, sir, for coming on, and don't be a stranger.
All right. Thank you, Arrington. I really appreciate you as well.
Yes, sir. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed yet another great conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. Be sure to tune into our program weeknights, available on all digital and streaming platforms. You know how to find us. But until then, y'all take care. God bless. Stay in. Make sure you get out there and vote. We got some big elections happening this year, a lot of midterms, and, just a lot of stuff. Vote early. Don't just wait till November. Vote early. All right, I'm out.